Sorry, I was just busy poring over the best weapon in the game. Because I am actually excited because this is next week. Don't know what the Overclock's going to be. It could be Jet Fuel Homebrew. I don't know yet. That's not what we're doing right now, though. Right now, we're doing Well-Oiled Machine. Of course, if you watched the end of last week's episode of Overclock Showcase, welcome back, by the way, you would know that our next Stubby Overclock, is Well-Oiled Machine. A clean, gives faster rate of fire and faster reload. I can't remember the actual stats. Let's take a quick look. Plus 2 rate of fire, minus 0.2 reload. It's actually the exact same reload speed bonus as the M1000 had for minimal clips, which was last. Yeah, it was last week. Yeah. I was about to say last recording, as if those aren't the same thing. They are. Even though I'm ahead, I don't record out of order, even if I'm ahead of schedule. But still, in this case, I think it's actually more because we're going from a 2-second reload down to below 2 seconds, basically. The rate of fire, however, is substantial. 2 more rate of fire on basically a weapon that kind of implies it would have a high rate of fire is actually very good. I mean, not that the Stubby has a low rate of fire. It is an SMG, but 11 per second is not super high. Unlike the minigun, which is like 30, you know? It's like, so there is a difference. And of course, I think the cleans, at least for me, have this sort of place. The Stubby's cleans have this sort of very ill-defined, very unfortunate position where they don't really provide anything that you can't get from balanced overclocks. Unstables are, of course, a completely different realm entirely, and I think that's actually kind of cool. But I think the cleans really fall apart because I think the balanced category on the Stubby kind of suffers a little bit from just a lack of variety. They're very sort of stat-based, all three of them, and as such, they kind of all beat out what you can do with the cleans, especially EM Refire Booster, which is really strong. It's even more rate of fire, like quite a lot, and it actually does add more damage. Like straight up, it's weird because it adds electric type damage, which means you don't get like weak point bonuses and stuff from it, but it's still more damage, and it's the only example of that. I mean, obviously, I guess high priority assembly as well, and they're kind of like, it's almost like EM Refire Booster is just the upscaled version of Well-Oiled Machine, and high priority assembly is the upscaled version of super slim rounds, and then lightweight rounds just exist to be a sort of more of a flexible, can kind of do either thing. It's not going to be it's not a bullet storm overclock, especially seeing as it reduces your rate of fire. But I think lightweight rounds is actually a really cool overclock, and I'm glad I've actually been able to do that one already and sort of expose what you can do with it. I think it's actually far more interesting than people give it credit for. Unlike Well-Oiled Machine, yeah, it's just clean rate of fire and reload speed. So my approach originally was going to be just to copy my EM Refire Booster builds. I had this weird, like, really stupid thought, and it will work for high parallel assembly, but it doesn't work for EM Refire Booster because I haven't done that video yet, right? My idea was to basically, for the clean versions, you know, the versions as I just laid out, I would basically use the exact same build to just swap out the overclock to see how they stack up, right? I might do that for high parallel assembly, but obviously I can't do that for EM Refire Booster because I haven't done the video that's, you know, forced me to choose my 2 definitive EM Refire Booster builds. They do exist. I use it very often. I think this used to have it in this slot, but if I were to quickly find one, here's one, and I think it was always with yeah, this is a pretty definitive EM Refire Booster build of mine, but we're not using EM Refire Booster, and this was also a leftover attempt at a different build that you're not going to be seeing today. Another one. This maybe is the most definitive one, and you've seen this when I did efficiency tweaks. But yeah, I kind of ended up with 2 builds that don't quite align with what I typically go for, but I'm fairly happy with. I do feel bad that I actually failed an industrial sabotage with one of them yesterday, but I'm not planning on doing industrial sabotage with either of them today, so I don't think I'll have to worry about that. But when it came to an overclock like this, it's not propping up what the Stubby does in any major capacity. I found myself kind of incapable of going down like a crowd control or crowd clearing route with electric arc because I just didn't feel like rate of fire really justified that. I think you really do need ammo. I mean, when it comes to electric arc, it's going to be lightweight rounds or the unstables, really. Those are the ones where you're going to be going for crowd control and crowd clearing, in my opinion. The rest of them don't really allow that. Super slim rounds, we might we might do something with Electric Arc. I'm not sure. Obviously, that might be a while away. Hopefully, it's a while away. Anyway, so what it really came down to was finding the most sort of passable ways of using the Stubby, and just making sort of small tweaks that suit fairly different secondaries. The secondaries in these builds are quite different. That's kind of the key to it. And also that shouldn't look like that. That was literally for modeling purposes for the thumbnail. It's actually meant to look like a salt crystal. It's meant to look like that. Beautiful. So yeah, let's go through this first build. They are both quite simple, but I think they do illustrate relatively different ways to use the overclock. The thing is, not for entirely, it's like, unlike usual, the builds don't really serve different purposes, or at least the weapon using the key overclock of the video, it's not really serving a different purpose in either build. It's kind of just doing that same purpose slightly differently, and in slightly differently in relation to the secondary as well. I keep accidentally switching between the weapons for some reason. So yeah, this one kind of plays with it already giving a rate of fire. The other one, I'm just gonna make sure. Yeah, okay, I did do that. Yeah, this kind of plays into the fact that it's already giving its rate of fire, so the idea was to just make something that's quite stable. So we've gone really for full accuracy with recoil and accuracy here, but also universal killing power, which is where hardened rounds comes in. This isn't a single target Stubby. This is a generalist Stubby. This is going to be used to kill small groups of grunts, or isolated grunts even, weak Mactera enemies, actually any Mactera pretty much, apart from like Brundles. No, Goo Bombers, but even then, Spinning Death Breach Cutter isn't particularly good against any Mactera. But yeah, it's kind of used against everything except tanky targets and dense swarms. Enter Spinning Death, the best thing to use against tanky targets and dense swarms. It's genius, really. It's a basic Spinning Death build with lifetime, all ammo, quick deploy. This actually, I think, is a little bit ambiguous on Spinning Death. In fact, if I had some time, I might have tried reload speed, because you could actually maybe benefit from having the projectile be slightly further out, actually, from the weapon when it starts, when it activates. But quick deploy is kind of just the default. Stun, obviously. This thing makes so many rotations in a single enemy, it's going to take off whatever armor they have. So it's better to just keep them in place with stun. And this is really good for those dense swarms as well, because what Spinning Death provides is so great that so few other AoE options provide with efficiency. Obviously, Fatboy does this, but not really anything else. Is the ability to kill grunt guards in a dense swarm of enemies very easily without sort of fail, and Plasma Trail really just compounds everything. Plasma Trail is more so for the tanky targets though. It really aids that. I don't actually think the effects stack, but what it does do is keep that trail focused on whatever enemy it's currently hitting, or whatever enemies. It can be an infinite number of enemies as long as they're in the same place. And leave a little bit more damage after the fact, which is why Explosive Goodbye isn't a crazy pick either. I just generally prefer Plasma Trail. Although there have been cases where I really like using Explosive Goodbye. Certain Breach Cutter overclocks, like lightweight magazines, lightweight cases, right? Yes. And I think I went through the Stubby well enough. I mean, it's an accuracy-focused, universal sort of killer of weaker targets. So I felt like the best way to go in for that was to take a bit of damage and a bit of ammo. Not all for one and one for all. The reason why we're not taking both damage mods is just to give it a little bit more leeway, especially with a fairly demanding secondary weapon. Doesn't have a huge ammo pool. But the reason why I haven't gone for both our overclocks is because you just don't need to. This 570 max ammo here, with max ammo plus magazine, is more than enough. You don't want to sacrifice even more damage, especially given that we are missing out on the damage that we can gain. Every other option aside from the cleans provides more total damage in some capacity. So you do need to play a bit carefully, and that is going to be my main source of judgment. Also, SSGs just cover for everything. So let's just jump into this mission. Double XP, field disruption, on-site refining. It shouldn't be an easy mission. It's not meant to be. I'm actually fairly confident in this build, but what I just said kind of illustrates my main problem with the Stubby's cleans. I think they just don't provide enough value or novelty. I think the Stubby really can potentially get away with having better cleans than this. I'm not saying add more damage, But I think Super Slim Rounds is an interesting case, which is the other one. And actually, there's some stuff to say about Super Slim Rounds I'll get into in probably pretty soon. Because it's kind of relevant given it's a weird sort of facet of my life in relation to Stubby's clean overclocks. But I think you could really get away with having like a clean that, for example, adds like makes the electrocution effect slightly stronger. It might even just be increasing electrocution chance. That's a barrage infector.
Scanners have located several huge deposits of liquid morkite. To extract it, we're sending in a refinery for you to set up. Locate the wells of liquid morkite, set up pipelines, and pump it.
Right, I shouldn't have taken that much damage this early on. Or ideally I wouldn't have done. It's my fault. Yeah, I think you could easily have a clean overclock on the Stubby that just increases the electrocution chance or something, and that would actually be like really good for a lot of different builds. Or increase like electrocution duration slightly and damage a little bit even, or something like that. I think super slim rounds. Yeah, super slim rounds. I think could easily get away with having like a small one. Oh my god! Another one. That's dangerous. I think Super Sim rounds could get away with having like a small weak point damage boost even. I think there's just a lot of room that isn't... Well, actually, it's the same one, isn't it? It's just not dead. What a bastard. That's entirely my fault. Also, Spinning Death, by the way, it's been a real refresher to remind myself that I really like a lot of the overclocks in this game. Like, there are more interesting ones than I sort of think there are sometimes, and Spinning Death is such a great example of something it's like such an unstable, like really high concept, in some ways actually seems bad on paper, but wound up being really interesting to use, and the really like nice different version of the weapon. Like, Spinning Death is so different from base breach cutter, but it pans out, and I like it when a good thing comes together. Good plan comes together. A humble acid spitter, prime target for our Stubby in this case. But yeah, so I'm not saying that Spinning Death is going to be the star of the show or anything, but this Stubby in this case is not, and maybe kind of for either build, is not really designed to be the star of the show. And that, I think that has a little bit to do with the engineer's kind of weapon dynamic anyway, where he's kind of got like reverse secondary mentality, where his primaries are kind of like secondary weapons. The only way that they're not, also Mactera Swarm is bad for Spinning Death. The only way that they're not secondaries is that they kind of carry the ammo count that you expect from a primary. But Engineer's primary strength comes from his secondary weapons. So I would say in this case neither weapon is going to be star of the show, but Stubby isn't going to be like this crazy, overpowering. He's not like Gunner, where sometimes the primary can literally do everything. Or like Driller, where even though it's not doing everything, it's still definitely combining with the secondary. It's so different than the Star. And then of course there's Scout, who is pretty much just like equals out, I would say, in terms of how much you use each weapon. Anyway, the only good thing about Mactera Swarm is it's kind of filled with the types of enemies that we're going to be using Stubby against this build. The only problem is a lot of them, and we can't necessarily kill them quickly because Stubby isn't great at that, somewhat by design in this case. The last thing I want is to get killed by Gooberma projectiles. Then we'll drop another. I'm actually pretty confident outside of their Mactera Swarm, so I'm going to drop a Shredder just to get through this, because things might go a little bit awry. Not that I can't handle it, but maybe I also can't handle it inside. Oh, that's bad. Right, that will end up doing something. I need to kill that Tridol though. Okay. Not the best start, I'll admit, but you know. Remember, Overclock Showcase is not inherently. I am not here to inherently promote the Overclock. I am technically here to promote the builds that I'm using for it, but I am not here to. Look, the Overclocks are randomly chosen for me, right? By a wheel of fate. Okay, I'm not choosing them because I think they're good. I'm choosing them because I need to show them off, whether they be good or bad. And some Overclocks are bad. I'm not saying well-oiled machine is bad. It's just pretty much just base Stubby, and base Stubby is fine. It is on the lower end of weapons, I would say, but it's fine. And I mean that's okay. Maybe I should reserve a judgment like that more so for Super Slim rounds, because well-oiled machine or WOM, call it from now on, WOM, it is an upgrade. I think the Stubby's ammo count is actually pretty good, and I think something that increases sort of general usability in the way that this Overclock does, so with rate of fire and reload speed, so just an overall boost to sort of DPS and sort of like basically ergonomics almost the weapon. I do think that nets out to making the weapon at least slightly stronger. So I do respect certain rate of fire overclocks quite a bit. Like overtuned firing mechanism is a GK2 overclock that we've already done video on, and I respect that quite a bit. I think it's a really nice. Also, I knew that I know that Monster was there. I'm just not too bothered. I don't miss these things. I just sometimes choose to ignore them. Yeah, I should be able to get down, resupply ammo, my nitro, sorry, immediately. Dice strength's great, best secondary objective in the game. Wide save, this was opposite day. Oh, that actually explains why the even landing on the platform is a bit more deadly. Shield disruption. I guess he put all the energy from the shield into the Stubby. Yes, that's the explanation today. Yeah, we'll take that up that way. I think this one's going to go toward the pump jack over there. You don't want to see me build pump jacks, do you? Or build I guess more kite pipes. Look at this. Horrible. This sucks. I suck. I do quite like having the accuracy though up a bit. It's kind of, it is the primary argument for this overclock over EM reified booster. I personally don't find that argument to be very compelling. It's like, oh, it's more, it's more accurate, it's better at range. It's like, it is better at range, but because I think EM reified booster actually equals out, and I especially think because EM reified booster, it still begs to be, used with the accuracy upgrades anyway. So you'll probably be taking them, offsetting a lot of the accuracy downsides that EM reified booster brings. And its increase of rate of fire and increase of damage, I think increases the burst damage enough. It's still, even if you're just using it in sort of short bursts at long range, it's still overall just as effective as something like this. And I think that makes it overall better because of how much more effective it is close to medium range. Because it's a lot better in those circumstances. EM Refire is. It's very strong at mid to close range. It's actually really, EM Refire booster really is on the upper side of DPS because it's a very strong rate of fire increase with a damage boost built into it. So it really is a bit of a DPS like powerhouse, like genuinely. So the EM Refire booster video is definitely going to be a bit of a include a hefty amount of praise for that overclock. Once again, that's not going to be too soon either. As I've already established, I'm quite pleased to be doing the Hurricane next week. It's, it is my favourite weapon in the game. I think I'm going to have fun doing literally any overclock. Also, let's not die to a radiation crystal. It's active uraniums, volatile uranium. Let's not do that. What's wrong with me? Why can't I move today? There you go. Goo bomber's back. A single goo bomber. Why do I keep getting these lag spikes? They're actually really, like, off-putting. A Praetorian mixed in with a group of grunts is one of the best things for spinning death. Really. Actually, I'm going to pop another one. I'm going to go get a resupply.
I made a platform. Ready, bigger they are.
So our other turret has been getting like no play as well, so I'm just going to turret, not turret spam, but definitely spreader spam. And exercise my generally okay ability to dodge Tridor projectiles. And acid spectre. Yeah, I don't know what's with the Macteras in this, but obviously that's how missions work in Deep Rock, because it's kind of shown that we have a predisposition now for this mission to have lots of Mactera swarms. It's like a swarm type that's being chosen for the mission. Which is such like a weird system that is only in play for mining expedition, on-site refining, and deep scan, actually. Which is just really weird, because they're all the Morkite missions. They're all the missions when you're mining Morkite, and they're the only ones that happen to use the default like swarm system. It's actually really weird. It's kind of cool, but it's weird, and I do wish it was slightly different, because I'd want that system to be used by most missions, ideally, rather than just 3. 3 out of 7? Is that right? Wait. 9. 9. Oh, 9 mission types. Pretty good. The Humble Brundle Fly. Not so humble. Do I have resupplier? Do. What to do? Best. Okay, maybe it's not the... Why? Maybe it's not the best, but it's pretty good. Actually, I think I should probably skip a little bit. I do have that Super Sim Rounds thing to talk about, but, you know, it's not even a Super Sim Rounds video. So maybe we'll talk about that later. So I'm going to get on with some pipe stuff. And I'll see you in a bit. Well, you'll see me instantly. I'll see you later. Okay, so got a couple of things actually, which I'm definitely going to do because I want that XP. But we've got Core Stone and a Cursite fencer. So I'm going to pop a resupply in this room. Bring my turrets over because we're going to be spending some time here. Buzzcode is busy finishing the final pipeline, so we'll be ready to get on with the final part of the mission once we're done here. And I think it's actually any merit in trying to use the explosion from the Cursite event finishing to destroy the Core Stone. I don't know, but I'm going to try because it's actually very safe to try and do that. I only need like one, or I need just the Core Stone to be active and be sort of ready to finish the Cursite event. It should actually be pretty safe to set up. Experiments.
Swarmers team, lots of them.
Swarmers.
Get ready.
Swarmers. A really awful enemy type. This. Got Stubby, we've got the lowest ammo version of the Breach Cutter. Not that it couldn't handle Swarmers at all, but it's not going to handle them efficiently. I mean, we just have to rely on the turrets really to do this. Fuck that. Can't just stand inside this. That'll keep me safe. Only for 7.2 seconds though. And it's gone. Oh, it's 7.4 seconds. No, it's 7.2. 3.6 and 7.2 are the two like lifetime values you can get with spinning death. And also, this mission is it's got a boner for variety. It doesn't want to do a normal swarm. But Macteras, Warmers, what's next? Victorians? Love Victorian swarms, by the way. I'm not sure if I might actually think Victorian swarms are the best type of swarm, even over grunt swarms.
Scanners show the waves thinning out. Take out the rest of them, snap.
I put one more of these. I think that's pretty badly placed, but I'm gonna put one more. Just added it for a bit. Yeah, I kind of missed the last wave of swarms really with that. And this trail will be gone soon as well. Look at that. Not last very long. As such, I'm going to be rather wasteful with my resupplies. Because I want more. I think I need that turret ammo. And look, even though I play solo all the time and I'm very good at making sure I've got Nitra, I definitely can afford to be more liberal with my resupply than I can. Quickly. That guy was annoying me. Sorry if that seemed harsh. 6, so we're dealing with acid spitters. Which of course are a fantastic target for this build. Will that override the music? Yeah, look at that! That was amazing! Nice. I'm very happy with that. Anyway, this is actually gonna be more of a case of using I'm only using the breach cutter for the core spawn crawlers, because Stubby's going to do a decent job against the stone itself. What the breach cutter can do is keep the crawlers in place and kill them very efficiently. Unlike the Stubby, where I'm going to have to be sort of kind of dancing around and aiming very sort of precariously. I guess they will obviously do end up damaging it as well. And obviously, speaking of being liberal with resupplies, I'm going to grab another one because we're heading right back to the refinery after this and starting that. So I personally think I can justify it. What about you? Vote in the comments whether or not my actions are justified. Sounds like a normal pressure wave. Let's see. Focus. Good. Probably didn't need to use the breach cutter shot there. Anyway, now we get to we actually don't need to come back to this part of the cave at all. Maybe for Dystrom, I'm not sure where I'm going to get sort of the last Dystrom. There's a little bit of some scraps that I was mining already. the drop pod hole there's some, but I don't know how much. If it's gone through a vein, like an entire vein of dice stream, then there was almost definitely enough there. We'll see. Wait and see. I'm going to start this thing, so we'll have to get the dice stream during the process of finishing the mission, basically. Put one here, just sort of general overwatch, and then I'm going to put another one, the other turret somewhere here. I think overlooking this section somewhat. So here, maybe. So much dice stream that got one. 11, not terrible. Gonna get us to 95, so 95 dice stream. It's so weird. I mean, actually, I did want to talk about some stuff to do with like the videos. Not necessarily going over the channel update again. The stance is still not doing like normal videos until roll call comes out. That's still the case. So, you know, we're on a partial hiatus. But I do still want to talk about how some videos have done. This is going back a little bit because I sound like 2 or 3 recordings ahead. So going back about 3 weeks. I was talking about this, but
So much better than walking.
the Big Bertha video actually racking up a good amount of views over time was a nice thing to see, because the AI stability engine one did really well quite quick. It got like 1,000 views in like 2 days, which is really cool. But I do have a suspicion it had something to do with just the AI buzzword, basically. It's obviously entirely like unintentional, just the name of the overclock, but I do wonder if it had something to do with it. And it might have done, because it's an unnaturally high number. We don't usually get 1,000 on build showcases. It's like maybe like one in 6 or 8. Like only ever so often do they do that well. It does happen. But with the Big Bertha getting up to like 700 views now as of recording over the course of a week or 5 days, it's actually really nice. Because for me, what it actually shows is maybe general interest in Deep Rock. I mean, you have people still sort of play, like sort of larger content creators still playing it for the first time. Flats, for example, I actually watched his video, and it was actually really nice. I actually really liked that video. I found his just approach really like digestible for like a brand new player, because obviously Deep Rock is literally a second language to me at this point, and so it's really hard for me to like sort of extract myself from it and, you know, sympathise with people who don't, you know it inside and out. But he really had one of the most sensible approaches to a new game that I've seen. He kind of just seemed to get stuff, and stuff that he didn't get made perfect sense. It was actually a really nice video. Seems like a good dude, actually. Hope I don't regret saying that. But yeah, he does seem like a good dude, and I think, you know, it's still interesting Deep Rock, and it's like, think about basic concepts like Daredevil Born Again coming out, and, you know, seeing a byproduct of that is more people watching the original series as well. So, you know, roll call is going to generate some renewed interest in Deep Rock. It's literally a Deep Rock game. Which is why I don't hate the idea of talking about Season 6 right now, especially on my own terms. I am thinking about making a more generalized video, like a more generalized commentary video in the way that like Access Chronos might make about Season 6, like sort of somewhat like a bit of a solo podcast ordeal. That's kind of the best way for me to sort of pontificate, I guess, about certain topics to do with Deep Rock, but on sort of my own terms. Outside of a video like this, where it's not the express purpose. But I think talking about Season 6 and the future of Deep Rock is actually a very valid topic. So I won't go into too much detail right now, but I can, given that, you know, I'm just playing right now. I'm not going to cut any of this because it's combat. But, you know, we don't know nothing about, you know, Deep Rock post Rogue Core. The essence of what we know is that they're only gonna look at Deep Rock at all after Rogue Core got into early access. But something else that we do actually know is that that's not decidedly Season 6. There's actually no technical guarantee that that means it's Season 6 the next update that Deep Rock gets. And I don't hate the idea of considering other options, basically. The thing is, the idea of like a different approach, because obviously the reason why I think Season 6 is still a good idea is because it will be sort of the final companion piece to Season 5, right? You know, as much as they seemingly wanted to avoid it with what Season 5 was, the fact that, you know, you get like new primary overclocks, for example, but you only get them for the primary weapons, right? It's kind of leaving the secondary overclocks for next time, right? The Season 5 in a lot of ways inherently sets itself up to be serialized, to get a sequel season. It's actually very appropriate for Season 5, especially with Rogue Core and how Season 5 is a prelude to Rogue Core, right? It would actually make sense for Season 6 to be a follow-up to Rogue Core. Like, what is the impact now that sort of Rogue Core has kind of been digested in sort of a narrative sense, right? What's Deep Rock's sort of status now? Things would have changed. We could sort of assume Rogue Core is a bit like a time bubble almost, and that not really necessarily, but that like progress is made on the side of what we're doing in Rogue Core that affects Deep Rock as a company, like in universe, and allows for whatever changes like in operations we see in Season 6. It actually would make perfect sense for Season 6 to be a follow-up to Rogue Core. And sort of the final sort of stamp on this is like the finalization of, there's like this infinite source of Expedite further down in Hoxie's, that we can kind of just, the Deep Rock dwarves that kind of just sent to sort of bash their heads against until the end of time, would actually work as a premise for like Deep Rock's final update. It's like there's an infinite source of Expedite and you just got to go down there and get it. Like a new mission type, or maybe you buy into, like, it's sort of combine the two. So get out there. I know the basics of how to use platforms, but I couldn't do locking from that. Oh shit. Locking in's not worked. I don't really have locking in's not built into my sort of DNA, my like, sort of makeup. It's just not. I operate kind of at a flat value of competency in pretty much every regard, and it's usually basically, I like to think that it's more often than not slightly above average level of skill. God. See, this stuff would be so harsh for newer players, like seriously. Anyway. Yeah, so like I was saying, Season 6 honestly could work as a follow-up to Rogue Core. But if the idea is like, it's not Season 6, so what's the other option? Like, regular updates again? On a basis that works, so like maybe, let's say, every 3 to 4 months. You know, you get 3 to 4, like, decent-sized updates per year that add one thing. Basically, I guess these updates would only amount to maybe like a third of a season's content or something like that. So you could get the equivalent, I would say, of a new game item. So that could be a mode, that could be a mission type or a biome or even just a warning, plus something on the level of a couple new overclocks in whatever capacity that takes. They could basically choose weapons if they wanted to. Or sort of figure out a new sort of type of content they can add to regularly. every 3 or 4 months and keep that up for a long amount of time. And that could actually be dynamic enough and interesting enough to actually represent, if they can sustain that, it could actually represent a decent, like, new era for Deep Rock. I don't know. Like, I think you could either go down that route or just go for Season 6 and make it, you know, the last hurrah. I personally prefer that one. Anyway, the video. Well-oiled machine. What's next? That work? Elite threat and lethal enemy. I don't know about doing a double warning, actually. But I also don't know about doing... It was literally an industrial sabotage of parasites. Actually, that's why I need to do this. I need to get this off my chest. So, the other build. Companion piece to Plastcrete Catalyst on the Shard Diffractor. Plastcrete Catalyst is crazy good. I'm not going to go through too much of the build here. The armor breaking is actually really useful for our Stubby in this case. It's just such an ammo efficient overclock that we can take the time to just strip armor off enemies instead of shooting platforms sometimes. But yeah, recharge speed, because you have a slower charge rate. Ammo, obviously, area of effect, because it's an AoE tool, whether we're blowing up platforms or not. And Dazzler module is amazing. It just slows down the enemies around sort of the... It literally... When we're shooting a platform, we have a 4.2 meter effect radius, because it doubles the AoE size. And we're going to slow down every enemy in that sort of zone. 80% movement speed. It's amazing. It's the perfect companion piece for Plastcrete Catalyst. But our Stubby is all damage, all fire rate. And you get all damage on the Stubby, in my opinion, by going for conductive bullets, not hollow point bullets. Obviously, we don't have increased electrocution chance, and that would help in some ways, but I'd rather take the more damage all the time, with the bonus of we get more damage when they're electrocuted as well. And I've also upped the magazine size, and that really feels really good, because I think it's almost enough to kill a Praetorian in one clip, and that feels pretty good. We get through it quickly. Our rate of fire is 16. Obviously, this can go up to 18 with the Refi booster. Also, I need to stop drinking this tea. Hold on. I don't understand how people drink normal tea. Like breakfast tea. It's what we call English breakfast tea. Although it's actually Qatari tea. Without milk. It's so dry. I like herbal tea, like rooibos, and without milk, because that's kind of how you're meant to drink it. But that's so dry. Just not very good. It was a kind of experiment, to be honest. But yeah, so it's just like a lot of bullets in the magazine that we shoot very fast and they do a lot of damage. And obviously, like I said, we have a bit of a can opener in the case of the Shard Diffractor with its armor breaking. And lures. Lures are what you're going to see whenever I use this this dwarf, who, by the way, is one of my favourite looks. I'm actually going to switch the Shard Diffractor back to its normal way of looking in this loadout. It's actually not. It should be fiery. There we go. Fiery with affected. No, actually this one I think works better with Ravager. Waster, sorry. But yeah, lures, it's because they're just so efficient with Plastcrete Catalyst. Because Plastcrete Catalyst is already so efficient, it's such overpowering AoE that we actually gain more from the crowd control of the lures than we do from the explosive power of a different grenade. It just makes sense. Anyway, I'm going to jump right into this because I need to conquer my demons, because, yeah, last night I failed an industrial sabotage. It was exactly the same as this, except I think it was a bigger one, because I think the... No, it wasn't. It's the same reward values. It's exactly the same. Except I had double XP. So I missed out on that, so I've wavered that reward, but... you know, it's called Eternal Comeback. Kind of what Doom's going through right now. Because Doom the Dark Ages is... Obviously, this is like going to be like over a month since it's come out, when this is actually published. And who knows, with the way things are going, maybe that sort of commentary video I was talking about might actually be out before this video. So if there is something that looks like what's the future of Deep Rock Galactic, then you'll know where it came from, or this is where it came from, basically. Me pontificating about it here. But yeah, Doom, the Dark Ages, what a game. I'm sort of glad that the response has settled, because it started off a bit mixed, and I actually have criticisms about it, but overall it's amazing. It's such a good game. I'm really happy it's also a substantial game. I think, you know, some people are like sort of worried it's like it's really justifying being a full price game. For Game Pass kind of alleviates that for a lot of people, including myself. But is it justifying being a full price game when it's just a campaign? And I'd say when you look at the previous Doom games where the multiplayer was not really the main star of the show at all, and the fact this is about twice the length of the previous campaigns, I think it does. I think some extra mode is missing, but I think that could come later with when they put out the DLCs. Like something like Doom Eternal's Horde mode, which Horde mode is kind of like an arcade style retooling of the campaign levels that I think is actually really good. And I think adding sort of content like that is actually very valid for Dark Ages, especially because it presents sort of customization options, but not that many avenues for which to get skins, especially like skins for the Doomslayer himself. Like Doom Eternal had so many really cool looks that you could equip for Doom Guy. Dark Ages, I haven't found any so far. I know they exist because you get one for like literally just for downloading the game, and there's also like a deluxe edition one as well, but I haven't actually found any for the Slayer yet. And like sort of like an arcade mode would be a good way to get that. It could even be more like Horde mode from like Gears, where they actually make maps for it. That could honestly be cool. But I think as it stands, they spent their time well with just making a really just big, just jumbo campaign. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about Doom because nothing's happening. Although I'd be willing to bet a pressure wave is about to spawn, to be honest. But you don't want to hear me talk about Doom. Maybe you do, I don't know. But what you do want to see is me killing stuff with an amazing Stubby Overclock. Although in this case, there's going to be a lot of killing done with a shard diffractor. Like this. I do think one of the things I found that maybe is the reason why it didn't work as well as I was expecting is actually because of the parasites. Because they really do. We kill so many enemies at once, but we do not kill all the parasites. They come out afterwards, after the enemies die. And I genuinely think that might be a bit of a confounding factor. Why I found this mission so difficult yesterday. But maybe now my head is clearer. I'm in a better sort of position to focus the game. We're seeing the caretaker from this early on. Yeah, this build really plays into trying to match what Even Refi Booster does for the Stubby, but with an overclock that isn't Even Refi Booster. I was going to remember to be sort of quite economic with my, unlike that, and even better than that, I could have done that with one platform easily. But economic with my platform placement, given that they are our main source of AoE. Which I'm glad that there's like more than one platform overclock. Like we got this one, we got the one on the Stubby now as well. I'm glad we're making strides towards a better future. I doubt that when we get new secondary overclocks that any of the breach cutter or the PGL would get a platform overclock. But you know, one can dream. Not that I want that. I know what I want. I want well, I kind of know what I want.
Get to work.
I think for the PGL, I want. I will be happy with cluster grenades, but I think what I want is plasma torpedo. Now, plasma torpedo is actually something that can be found in a YouTube video that already exists. Someone who made some modded overclocks, and I will probably talk about that at some point, like an actual video, and show it. But it's a really cool idea where basically you have these really like heavy plasma grenades that just fly in a straight line. They have no fall off, but they move really slowly. And they do like a lot of damage. They do like enough damage to. They're not like Fat Boy, but they do enough damage to kill a guard in their radius. And I think that is sounds really fun and satisfying. Just a really strong damage boost to the PGL, but it sort of changes the way it feels enough to be sort of like to justify like such a damage increase. That is actually sounds like a really good way to take the PGL for a new overclock, because I think the overclock selection is really funky. It's really got a lot of issues, and I think you need something that's going to make a splash. I don't think it just needs to be more ammo, because it's so dominated by ammo overclocks. But I think we can definitely do better than just ammo. Another thing that it has, not just Dazzler module on the Shard Diffractor, but the fear effect produced by the Plastcrete Catalyst Explosion is really good crowd control. It's going to be really good for fearing, especially things like Stingtails and Praetorians. Like, you saw that with the Stingtail just now, it kind of stopped it from attacking. It's good shit. It's like, I think it is probably one of the best overclocks in the game. It's pretty crazy strong. Also, you might have noticed in this build that I used Mark II turrets. Or the Mark II turret, just the one. You only get one. I don't know why, but I like it. I'm starting to think about changing to the Mark II in more cases, because it kind of lets you just pick it and just be comfortable that your turret's just going to do good work, and that you only need to think about placing one. And it's still, just because the way it works, it's only one turret, which means it's like sort of overall ammo usage is quite low, which means you should always just take the quick deploy. You do not need to take more ammo for it at all. It does not, because it just doesn't get through very quickly. I don't know, I like the Mark II turret. I think it's cool. I don't know if it's equal to Gemini's system. It isn't, but there are definitely reasons to use it. I think sort of, if you kind of just want to think about just one turret and know that it's going to be slightly stronger than just one Gemini turret, then I think it's entirely valid to take the Mark II. The Mark II. Good. It's actually a really good upgrade.
Get back. It's sandwich time.
Anyway. Although I guess I probably shouldn't skip, because we're probably going to have to fight some sniper turrets in just a moment. And I did not start this video intending to do industrial sabotage. I don't think they're really the best mission types for these kind of videos, because they're literally dominated by a singular sort of faction of enemies that you're going to rarely encounter. But they do demonstrate, the robots aren't entirely invisible. They do show up in more, areas of the game. And the Caretaker is kind of just a good sort of distillation of like boss fight etiquette and how good like a build is against the boss, I guess. I still think eliminations are overall better, because Dreadnoughts can appear outside of eliminations as well. And you get a lot of normal enemy types. Also, Industrial Sabotage prevents normal stationary enemies from spawning. It's the only stationary enemies in an Industrial Sabotage are robot turrets. Eliminations have all of that and very regular and dense pressure waves. So I actually think eliminations are on the better end missions for these videos, where Industrial Sabotage is kind of bad. Anyway, killing swarmers with Plastcrete Catalyst. This really takes advantage of the increased AoE size and damage, because it kills the swarmers really quickly. You don't need to follow through and get to like an actual platform explosion. Just don't. Sometimes, obviously, I kind of did that a bit gratuitously there with that turret, but sometimes you do have two turrets close enough together where it's blowing up a platform to kill them is actually a really good idea. But overall, this Stubby is actually, the reason why this is actually a good video, my vocabulary is deteriorating by the day. The reason why this is a good mission type is also because the Stubby is pretty good against robots. It's generally decent DPS, plus electricity is good, because electricity is kind of just good against them. So patrol bots won't be a big issue, or at least they shouldn't be. Another thing you need to remember is not being too facetious with my ammo. More specifically with Nitra, because you get so much Nitra with on Industrial Sabotage, and I sometimes try and like only place a resupply like by the Caretaker and sort of go back to it between doing the power stations. I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably going to be a bit kinder to myself than that. Anyway, so that to me would not be particularly different if we were using even refire. Shit. Yeah. Another reason why I should probably cut some stuff though is because it's Industrial Sabotage and we're already over 50 minutes, so I'm gonna set up this hacking pod off screen. Yeah? Okay. I think I hear a patrol bot. Okay, maybe I was wrong actually. Where did it put that? I don't know. Okay, now patrol bot did just spawn. For sure, there it is. Ridiculous. Oh, look at that. Watch this, I'm gonna do this first try. I'll actually do better than I thought I was going to do.
Did you see?
Wait, he's...
I hacked it.
Right. Oh, what's this? Another patrol bot? Okay. Alright, whatever. Yeah, I think an actual pressure wave just spawned, so I'm going to do some stuff.
Decoy up. These bugs don't stand a chance against us.
Maybe it wasn't that proper. And I'm still yet to set up this fuck you! Still to set up this damn hacking pod. Maybe I should do that. Wait, actually. Oh! Oh! Okay. Fine. Okay, here we go. My favorite part of any mission type. Hacking pods.
Is online.
Hack begun. It's noisy business and is attracting the bugs.
Actually, I don't really have a problem with the fact that the hacking pod gets placed in a random location, because this is a very good place to fight a horde. Any veteran knows that. But, it just feels bad that the power station has an area cleared out for it, where our hacking pod is just dropped in a random place that isn't cleared out for it. That's all it is. I don't inherently have a problem if it's being dropped in a random location. Although I think there should be space requirements, though, that sometimes aren't met. Sometimes the hacking pod... The biggest problem is when the hacking pod drops in a really stupidly tight tunnel. And I think there should be sort of safeguards to prevent that.
We got bogeys on the hacking drone.
Dance with this.
Okay, so something that actually happened when I did it yesterday, I did die before doing the caretaker. If I can avoid that, I think I'll feel a lot better about actually taking down the caretaker.
The hacking drone is under attack. Keep it safe so it can work. The hacking has stopped. Get on it, team.
I might see the final lure now. Get up there. How much nitro do I have? Okay, I'm gonna try and find the next power station before using... Okay, actually, I'm not, because for once, it's been ages since this has happened. Somehow it's been ages since this has happened, but usually these missions spawn the power stations in like the same offshoot. So I actually am going to put down my first resupply near the caretaker and take it from there.
First power station has been hacked. Just let it go.
I need to be fast about that, because another pressure wave could actually be the end of this mission, genuinely. And I also will need to return here, maybe. See, I've done the follow-up mines, and that's good. I actually feel okay. Maybe I'll be alright, no, actually. But I hope you're seeing some potential, the sort of similar level of potential that's not, you know, super high that I see in well-oiled machine. It's good at sort of just... It's good at handling stuff. And I know it sounds like a really stupid, ambiguous statement, but I think there's something to it, where it's kind of just good at handling most things, but not when things get really difficult. It doesn't have any tricks up its sleeve. It's kind of just taking the Stubby and being like, here's some proof that the Stubby isn't actually a bad weapon. And I accept said proof. I think this has convinced me that base Stubby, like, air it. Because the way I see it is that when it comes to overclocks like this, what they mean is that there is no base Stubby. You're going to be at least using one of these cleans. And so far, my position is at least that this is the better of the two cleans.
Nitro's been withdrawn.
So I guess I should talk about that super slim rounds thing I mentioned earlier. and how super slim rounds is actually it. There's no real way of saying this without being sort of just flat about it. Super slim rounds is actually the catalyst for this series. I don't know how quickly I can explain that, but it is entirely true. It is the reason why I wanted to do something that would force me. So what I meant to say is specifically the catalyst for this series, not Build Showcase, Overclock Showcase specifically. And I think where it came from was wanting to do something that would force me to use like every overclock, no matter how much interest I had in them beforehand, basically. And so far, I think it's been a success. But yeah, it's kind of weird. That is actually the root of this series. Wanting to do something that would make me use sort of the weirder, like, less appealing overclocks. And for some reason, I always latched onto super slim rounds as an example of that. That's why there actually does exist a live stream where I used super slim rounds for some reason. So it's like, I'm going to try and use this and see how good I can make it. So I've kind of already done that video. I haven't. I will do it when super slim rounds get selected. But it really was the sort of prototype. Yeah, it is weird that that is the progenitor for this series. Very odd, but it's true. Hey, well, I'm gonna go find that other power station. I think I'll see you there. This is a bit awkward. Hello, friends.
That's what you get for being territorial. Feel much better now.
Okay. I'm assuming it's actually in sort of in that zone over there. Wait, are we going this way? Fucking hell, Molly. Maybe? I want to sort of cut through this. Whatever. Apparently they like me now. Oh shit. Hi. Don't know what that was all about.
Accurate, but dead. Need a hacking pod.
Roger.
Ain't on the floor. Come on, get the
Don't you run from me. The great Mario Judah once said, don't run from... Who remembers Mario Judah? I do. What an interesting character. What he's up to? As far as I know, nothing. Like, nothing bad, at least. Is almost surprising. Just very much I came across an unhinged individual. Alas. In some ways I feel like there aren't enough unhinged people anymore. Because they're becoming normalised. We've lost the wonder of the notion of the village idiot. There are no village idiots. There are simply villages of idiots connected by the internet. And there's your daily philosophy. I am actually qualified. No, not truly qualified. I don't have a doctor or anything. I don't have an A-level in philosophy.
I need to be alright here, right now. Warden down!
Keep the hacking drone secure.
You should almost set it on fire, even though I don't have the fire upgrade. It's rare.
Eat blood!
I just don't even know what's in, like what could be in this room. I think I will just go straight to like, just be like to the caretaker as soon as.
Control on the hacking drone.
No, the flares are recharging. Reloading.
Oh, turret, you're fair.
Hacking has been interrupted. Get whatever is attacking the drone off it. The hacking drone is under attack. Keep it safe so it can work. Hacking commencing again. Keep the hacking drone secure.
No, even if I do it failing the caretaker, I hope you can see the synergy of this build. Like how nice the armor breaking and the fear of the Plastcrete clatist explosions, and then just lasering down enemies with the like Sabata. Stubby feels really good. Although the Stubby is technically a Sabata. I don't know if anyone knows this, or I don't know how many people know this. It is actually based on a different model of Sabata, modified by. I think the explanation for the Stubby is that it is modified by the engineer specifically, which doesn't make sense given that, you know, as far as we know, the dwarves aren't actually like true characters in that sense.
I feel less on edge without these things.
Let's mosey on back to the caretaker. Actually, this is a quick way back to the caretaker.
Ow!
See?
Ammo taken.
We've got those patrol bots to deal with. The actual twins of the Galactic are the dual patrol bots that spawn
Go get him, boy!
at this stage. That's the sabotage mission. I mean, the point is that they're meant to be sort of two that you might get the chance to actually hack. I think that's literally the entire point of them, because you can't hack the ones that the caretaker itself spawns. But they didn't make them so they'd be guaranteed to be hackable, though. Like, this one is. I don't know if they have a higher chance to be hackable. I don't think so. It's just 2 chances. You maybe get a hackable block if you don't have one. Or because you are unlikely to have one like the whole time anyway, because they do gradually lose health. Right, I'm going to set up for the caretaker fight. Okay, so things are going to look a little bit strange at first for this, because I have this weird bridge here. But this is going to be the is that a detonator? Is that actually a bolt detonator? Fucking hell! What motivated you to spawn now? Wow. Incredible stuff. Absolute champion. I know, I'm not gonna use it on the kit. Cheap trick. Anyway, we have this bridge. It's gonna be how we get to use Plastcrete Catalyst against the caretaker. Approaches the highly.
Anyone think to bring an umbrella?
Great, well now the turret is basically entirely displaced. Not really, I suppose. This is fine. This is fine.
Pulling a battery.
Yeah, I did not plan on well-oiled machine being one of the longer episodes of the series at all. Anyway, obviously this is going to be the stuff. The shard diffractor is going to be involved quite a bit. Let's just say that.
Destroy it before it reduces you to cinders.
Right, I want it a bit higher up. That's what I found today. I just wasn't having. Are you shitting me?
Shoot the open vent.
If the platforms were a bit higher up, they might be actually able to hit them at the same time. Either way, when it comes to the appendages and the eye, we will mainly be using Stubby.
Access deployed.
I would say overall, neither weapon truly rules this fight, but there are some fairly well-defined roles. The fuck? Clearly I need to get rid of that hole.
Reloading. Door is up. I'm taking some of the ammo.
Well, we've got phase bombs. I knew it. How did I know that? Psychic.
I made a plan. Focus fire on the caretaker's glowing bit.
Talking about. What?
Platform's nice.
Wait. That's the appendages do target the lures. Oh, shit. I think I got the impression that they didn't actually from shredders, because the shredders don't target the appendages. That's why I thought that. So I would only use it. I would use the shredders whenever anything else showed up. So shredders, the actual shredders from the caretaker, or
Here's something for you.
or any patrol bots. I'll just immediately throw down shredder grenade.
Reloading.
But lures, I kind of assume the same thing with lures, but obviously lures are different because lures get targeted. It is different. Right. It's a must.
Damn flares could need an upgrade.
I'm gonna try not to resupply. I think I'll do it right. Got through worse. You're not dead. How am I not dead? Oh, I knew that. I knew that. Imagine if I had only like one life,
Time for us to care about securing
like no revives left. I might have destroyed the world out of sheer rage.
Getting supplies. Really much better. We got the data rack.
But Molly,
Data rack strapped down.
Excellent. Objective completed. Our rivals will regret ever setting foot on
right, I've got to get out of here. I kind of have a hard out. I've got to I would go for a run today, or still want to, but saying that I've got to is a helpful way of seeing things. And then
Ready to kill
I'm going
some more
to
grapes.
Mission Impossible. I'm going to the cinema in Mission Impossible. Obviously, it would have been like 3 weeks since it came out by the time this is out, but I'm assuming that I enjoyed it greatly. I remember hearing, reading a review that's seemingly a mixed review, but it says something like, oh, the film gets really bogged down in just long scenes of exposition, characters talking dramatically, but at least it has some of the best like stunt sequences ever put to film. And I was just thinking while reading that, that's it. All of that is what I want from Mission Impossible. That's exactly what I want. Like Dead Reckoning, the previous one was definitely bogged down in exposition, but it was all so well delivered and compelling because I knew that something crazy was just happening. I'm very excited. Who knows? I might have to revive sort of the movie review series for it.
Attack the hologram, stupid bugs.
Overclock departing in T-minus 4 minutes.
Swallow this. Keep your powder dry, lads. Go, go, go.
Fuel has docked. Initiating launch sequence.
Check out these moves.
Well-oiled machine. It's a decent overclock for the Stubby. I think something I might carry over to the titles. I think it does prove the Stubby's worth almost. Like it's such a small upgrade from the base weapon, but I think just raise it up just enough to be like Stubby doesn't actually need anything really that flashy to get by. Like even as flashy as EM Refi Booster, which isn't that flashy, this is actually just about enough to have something very reliable and solid as a weapon. So to all the Stubby haters out there, die in a fire, basically. And that's well-oiled machine. So if you enjoyed this episode of Overclock Showcase, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to see more stuff like this, and you want to stay on top of everything to Deep Rock and Rollcore, then also make sure to click the bell. But now, I guess my favourite part of the video, get to find out, specifically this one, get to find out what Overclock will be next week's showcase. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it's the Hurricane. So if you haven't seen this before, what we do, we number the overclocks from left, right, top to bottom. So we have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. We take away the ones we've already done. So that's Mind Node System and Cluster Charges. That's 2 and 5. And then we use the Wheel of Fortune, the Mediterranean Diet Cat, to find out what Overclock will be. And yeah, I can go for any of these. For some reason, I don't want Mass Bursters. Oh, it was a tie between 8 and 1. 8 would have been Jet Fuel Homebrew, which would have been serendipitous. But instead we got 1, which is Rocket Barrage, an Overclock that I enjoy immensely. And I'm sure I have it on someone, so that would be a good starting point. There you are. So yeah, look forward to Rocket Barrage. I know I am, because I love that Overclock. I love every Overclock on this damn weapon. And now, I guess what I'm going to do is grab a drink. It's most befitting of well-oiled machine. It's kind of actually it's begging for an oily oath, isn't it? Maybe it's not actually what we have. No. It's got to be an oily oath. I have support addition turned off because it's better without that. Perfect.
Orders from management. Stop dancing and get to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, rock and stone.
See you next time.